What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Musi Gaming here, and today we have a crazy KvK ahead of us on my main account. And I mean, it's going to start very soon in a couple of days now. Actually, I think starting next Monday is when the KvK will start. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at which kingdoms are going to be participating in each camp, as well as kind of take a closer look at each camp's power level as well as their kill points to evaluate their strength and weaknesses. And also at the same time, we'll go ahead and go over how the KvK will play out, as well as what my plan is for this upcoming KvK. So stick around as you'll find some crazy information for the upcoming KvK that we have starting next Monday. First of all, let's just go ahead and jump into a PowerPoint that I have prepared for you for this upcoming KvK, Ties of War. Now, the format of it, as I said, is going to be Ties of War, and I have kind of showcased this somewhat in our live stream a couple days ago. But we have 20 kingdoms that are going to be participating in this particular Lost Kingdom. Now, this will be kind of contrary to what we just went through in Heroic Anthem, where we were paired with only one other kingdom for our entire camp in Heroic Anthem. So I think regardless, we're going to have a pretty decent fight. I don't think the enemy's not going to not show up like we did for the last Zone 5 fighting. Because last Zone 5 fighting, we were fighting against the enemy camp. We were in the wind camp last KvK, and then the enemy was in the water camp in the last KvK. The map's practically the same. And then in the Zone 5 fight, when the pass for opening took place, we were able to push them out of the zone pretty quickly. And then we really didn't have much of a fight thereafter until we actually entered Kingsland. Luckily, we did have enough fights in Kingsland so that we were able to get enough kill points and this for us to actually get the star for the last KvK. But for this KvK, there's no way that 5 kingdoms camp will give up that easily. So we're pretty excited. I'm pretty excited for the next upcoming KvK. But yeah, this is a 20 camp KvK, unlike I think last one was about 8 camp KvK. So very interesting concept, very interesting KvK that we have ahead of us. Now, here is the map of Ties of War. Credit to 2627 who made this map for, I think, the distribution or for their own kingdom. Whatever the case might be, I'm going to be using this map because I have not found the better map for Ties of War in Google search that I did a couple minutes ago. So this map is amazing. It basically shows where each camp will be located, as well as kind of like what kind of objectives are. I just highlighted the ones that would actually impact the combat, such as all damage and defense and attack buffs. So this way you guys have an easier idea of where each camp would actually be placed in at the end of the day. So now we are part of water camp right here. Zarate, that's what the continent seems to be called, and we will be paired up and allied with a camp called Havana. So we're fire and water versus earth and wind. So this is going to be west versus east. From our perspective, it's going to be east versus west for their perspective. Pretty straightforward. I think this is most often what people do, so that even if, let's say, we lose this zone right here that we are neighboring with our enemy, if our allies actually win their zone 5, then we'll be able to get the buff still, and then still compete for the Kingsland and so forth. So pretty standard matchup here for camp. There's really not that many ways that it could go wrong unless you go 3v1. It is what it is. And for the upcoming fight, the first fight that we'll be having is going to be happening in Zone 5, and then we'll go ahead and move into this zone. We'll go over that in a little bit. So, but this is how the map looks like, and this is where each of the objectives look like at the end of the day. Now, taking a look at each and every camp that is each and every kingdom that is going to participate in this KvK, as I said before, we are allied with Fire Camp right here, and then we're going against Earth and Wind. In terms of power level, I think we're pretty even, or actually it is exactly even, right? This camp right here has 115 million billion power in total, and then we have 115 billion power in total. KP wise, we're I think a little ahead of them, whereas we're if we compare ourselves to Wind Camp, we're about 78 billion kill points versus The fire camp versus Earth is very, very close. I think 32 billion kill points difference. So yeah, uh, pretty even matchup, I would say, between each camp. We have a slight advantage in terms of kill points versus the wind camp and the kill. So I'm assuming and the power. I mean, and I'm assuming we are expected to win against the wind camp. I think fire has slight disadvantage in terms of power and kill point. So we're expected to lose on their front, and then we'll probably go ahead and fight for the King's End with pretty even matchup at the end of the day. Is what I would expect at the end of the day for this fight specifically. And as us, 2939, who I think among the campmates, we do have the highest power, not power actually, highest kill point. But then again, in terms of power, I think 1538 has the highest power. Our allies fire camp actually has 2879, who does have a lot more, actually the highest power in the entire KvK, it looks like. But KP wise, they're a little bit on the lower end. So a very interesting matchup here at the end of the day. This is actually from the Kingdom leadership, the whole board. You can see that some of them is actually written in, I think the total is written in Vietnamese because our kingdom is Vietnamese kingdom. And they did put us at B seed, but I'm not too sure because last time I checked, which was yesterday after seeing this, on Hero Scroll we are A, but I guess because maybe some of us are not participating in the KvK, maybe that might be the case. And our opponent, Wind Camp. So Wind Camp will be our neighboring camp that we will be fighting against. So that will be our main opponent. It has kingdoms like 1182, which has 9.3 billion power, as well as 264 billion kill point. I think the scariest opponent that we see here is 2158 with 11.6 billion power, which is on the lower end, but then again, 333 billion, which has the highest kill point in their camp. And also 2173 with decent amount average or above a decent amount of power as with 10.5 billion power with 251 billion kill points. And then 3111, which has 12.1 billion power and 245.8 billion kill points. So pretty decent amount of balance of each and every one of them. And then we're also against 3199, which is part of the win camp, 11.5 billion power and 198.5 billion kill points. Now, I think someone from the comment actually did mention that he is from 3199, and looking really forward to actually meeting you in the warfield, my friend. Don't hate on me if my Attila Subutai does really really well against your kingdom, but hopefully we don't get destroyed by you guys because that would actually put the KvK at a huge disadvantage for our allies at the end of the day too. Because I think we are supposed to. I'm not in the kingdom leadership, but I'm expecting that we're supposed to win our war front versus our allies front. Our camp right here, we have 3538, which has almost 13 billion kill points, which is the highest kill point that they have, with 277.5 billion kill point. And then 2789, which has 9.3 billion kill points power, as well as 310 billion kill points. Us, 2939 with 12.2 billion power, with 367.1 billion kill points, and then 2987 with 10.1 billion power and 154.7 billion kill points. So I'm assuming 2987 might have a difficult time fighting against the enemies given the KP level. Usually, a good balance of power and KP is really, really good. But then again, I think they do have the lowest kill point in this entire map. So hopefully they have some really, really strong fighters that would be able to kind of, fight alongside with us and kind of win us the KvK. I don't know what the situation might be because that does seem like a little bit of an outlier in terms of the entire kill point on the entire kingdom, in that entire KvK map. So 2987. But I'm sure if they are matched with us, I'm sure they have a really, really powerful or at least compatible power level at the end of the day. So yeah, and then 3497, which has 11.1 billion power and 262.2 billion kill points. Very well balanced kingdom. 3497 well, given the fact that they are the youngest kingdom in this whole map. So very impressive at the end of the day. All right. So that's basically the main matchup that we're gonna face against the water versus wind from my perspective, right? Because obviously I like I care about all the other kingdoms that are in the in the KvK matchup, but then again, we're mainly going to fight wind until we enter King's Land. So that's basically what I can tell you in terms of who we're up against. Earth Camp obviously has, I think, one of the highest kill point player kingdoms, like 1949 in the map. Uh, Second to us actually, which is interesting. But they have a good balance of power and kill point. Also similar to 1949, 13.9 billion power, which has the highest after our allies 2879. And a decent amount of kill points. So that kingdom is also very, very scary as well, it looks like. So we'll see. Also, one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of kingdoms might be reserving from powering up too, because Zenith of Power is just around the corner, and a lot of kingdoms might be saving up for that power push at the end of the day until the Zenith does come. So that is something that we should keep in mind when we're looking at this chart, which was made before the Zenith of Power is actually taking place, which will take place during our KvK, I'm assuming. Now, this is just the overview of how the chart looks, and this is how the fight would actually look like from our end. I will start from this water zone, obviously, because we are with the water camp. And going into pass 4 opening, obviously we're not going to march forward to the fire camp because that's not our prime objective, but we'll actually fight for our zone 5 here against the wind camp, which is going to look like this. We are closer to 5% attack objective versus their 5% defense objective. I feel indifferent about this at this point just because of the fact that I think attack did get a lot more buffed in the new crystal technology, and given the fact that this KvK is going to be in that new KvK technology format. So 5% attack may be good for some troop type, maybe bad for some troop type. Regardless, I think this is good. And winner of this zone will control both 5% attack and defense on both ends. And then each camp would actually have secure passage to the zone 6, I believe. I forgot what this area is called, but Matcha area, and then they will have access regardless if they win or not. This zone right here to Kalcha, and then we'll both get 3% all damage buff from the holy site that is here and here. And then we'll compete for the honors in the shrine or altar in between our zones, so that blue purple is where we will be fighting for that at the end of the day. And also eventually, if neither of the camps actually lose past ace or King's End passes during our zone 7 opening and all that stuff, then we'll go ahead and fight for King's End from each of our neighboring zones, zones past ace, 2v2v2v2. Hopefully we'll be able to gather, go through their past 7 if it is possible at all by any means. I think it's going to be tough just because of the fact that there's so many kingdoms in each of those camps. I think if we can get the zone 5, that would probably be the biggest win that we'll have until it kills them either way. So that's my assumption. But yeah, that's how the whole KvK will play out at the end of the day. Now, let's go ahead and move on to my own account. Now, in the past KvK, the last KvK that we just fought against in the Heroic Anthem KvK story, I've actually reached 5 billion kill point, 5.08 billion kill points, which is okay. Again, my account does not have a really impressive kill point just because I am always out of speed ups for one, and two, I spent so much of my materials and resources, everything that I actually have, for me to perfect this KvK weapon and helmet and the full cavalry set at the end of the day. All my resources went into this one instead of actually spreading out my investment to different marches that I have for my lineup. So, I mean, I barely have 5 marches, right? So that's why my kill point's on a little bit on the lower end, just because I was focused on that one march and one rally or garrison march at the end of the day. So I'm sitting at 3 million power as well as 5.08 billion kill points. It is what it is. That's what I have, and that's where I am. In terms of kills, this is what I have. I have all 196 million T5 kills, 109 million T4 kills. I have a lot of T1 kills because in KvKs that I didn't really end up getting 30 million kills. I did kill Trace. I I mean, that's just what happened. That's what I did. Even the last KvK, although we won the star, the fight was not long enough in past 4 opening and all that stuff. So, like, I ended up having to kill trade at the end of the day. So, yeah, so that's basically how my kills look like here at 2939. Now, for each of my commanders, Arthur is going to be my biggest kind of where I would actually trust him the most, because this is going to be artifact KvK. That means I will get to use Arthur with the currently best pair for Arthur without having another combo cavalry commander at the end of the day, which is going to be Liu Che. Now, it also does help that I have full Iconic 5 talented gear for my Arthur. Let me go ahead and move myself a little bit down so you guys can actually see my iconics and all that. Yeah, I have the best cavalry gear setup as well as a pretty decent arch setup. For those of you who are not familiar with my arch setup, I've been placed the top 3 chassis best cavalry rallies that you can run for arch. I really am grateful for that, as well as I'm very proud of that. But it is not perfect by any means. Having Iron Wall here is not bad at all, but then again, I am missing a special inscription. So throughout this KvK, I'm hoping that I'll be able to upgrade this to a special inscription instrument at the end of the day. I am very close to hitting, what's this called? The pity for the legendary inscription. Hopefully I get a double inscription on it, but like that, you just have to be really lucky on it. And I am very close to hitting the 9th rare inscription as well. If you guys see, I am 26 legendary armaments away from hitting the 9th rare or legendary inscription for the pity. So hopefully I'll be able to hit legendary inscriptions for my instrument so that I can perfect this my rally setup at the end of the day. And given that I'm using Arch, which will give me 5% more normal damage buff, as well as all the other inscriptions giving me boost to normal damage dealt, it actually makes it easier for me to use that Arthur Liu Che format, whereas everything that he does with smite damage will also get boosted by the normal damage buff. And also given the fact that he himself, Liu Che himself, does have a little bit of normal damage buff that he has in his 4th skill. But he also does combo damage, which is going to be buffed by Arthur's own combo damage buffing skills that would actually give him the damage bonus. But he does have another skill. He does have 2 skills that would actually do smite damage that will only get impacted by the normal damage buff that I get from the Liu Che's 4th skill, as well as the inscriptions that I have on Arthur. So it is what it is. But yeah, Arthur Liu Che in the 2 KvKs ago, I actually did run Arthur Liu Che. It absolutely crushed anything that it faced. So it was almost, and I would be very careful when I say this, but it was almost as good as a very good Qin Shi Huang March is what I can say. Like I was able to get so much kills, just unfair trades on the field with my Arthur Liu Che. But the problem with me is because I'm a rally lead at the end of the day, so that means that I don't really get to use my Arthur March all the time, because I'll be rallying with that march at the end of the day for most of the time that we're actually neighboring an enemy flag or enemy alliance fortress. So I have to have this march kind of on a standby at all times. So that is like the only downside to this. But yeah, so that's basically what I have. This is the most expected, most kind of exciting march that I have ahead of my next KvK. It's gonna do really great in Holy Site, the outer fights, just because of the fact that you don't have to worry about me rallying something else. The two KvKs ago, when I did run Arthur Liu Che, I gained the most kill points from outer fight just because of the fact that I didn't have to worry about rallying with Attila Subutai and I could just solely focus on fighting on the field. As a matter of fact, I think I was number one in kill point in that fight for against the enemy camp for that outer fight, for most of the outer fights that we had. So pretty exciting stuff. All right, so that's my Arthur. I do have a second cavalry set, which is not as exciting as Arthur, but then again, he does have pretty decent stuff. You can see that he is fully talented and iconic wand. Oh, well, let me actually rephrase that. He's fully talented except for the ring right here, which I'm fine with not having a critted ring. It's not as critical as not having a critted horn, because horn 15% extra rage could impact your damage output by quite significant amount. So I'm pretty happy that I got the horn critted instead of the ring, which is fine. I do have Iconic 4 weapon because this used to be my main weapon for my rally setup before I actually got Sacred Dominion to a usable level. So it does have 3% all damage buff to that at the end of the day. And Iconic 2 for the helmet, Iconic 1 for the chest piece. I'm working on it, but then again, right now I'm still kind of trying to see if I can get a weapon, new weapon for my infantry march. So I am saving some of the materials at the end of the day for that. And I do have Asher the Dawn, which is Iconic 4, which will give me that 1.5% extra damage on the field. But outside of that, that's basically it. Pretty simple setup, pretty decent, but not the best setup at the end of the day. I do have Wedge Formation on him with 2 Special Inscription, which is going to be Hunter and Balance, which are all farmable. So the reason why he's on it is because it's all farmable. And then 2 Rare Inscription with Focus Fire on the 4th one, Emblem, and then the Boiling Point, a Boiling Blood for the instrument. All in all, pretty decent setup. It does its job on the field, but it is not as strong as what I have for Arthur at the end of the day. So, but this is what I have for him. Second march, which is going to be used as Ho Chu Bing and Joan of Arc Prime. My third march is something that I recently completed, which is going to be Qin Shi Huang with YSG. He does have almost all of it critted except for the glove, Dragon Breath, and Braces, and ring. And if I had the ring critted, I'll probably give it to Huo, just because of the fact that I'm using the power skin for my Huo. That is going to give him 15% extra health. But Qin Shi Huang, I think this is a pretty decent setup. I think he's the one commander that doesn't really need horns, so having extra march speed from Call of the Loyal is actually pretty decent. Having critted weapon is fine, as well as that Iconic 2 for 3% enemy defense ignore for Qin Shi Huang maximum damage is also fine. And having Iconic 2 here is okay. Enemy health ignore does help. And once I'm done, probably working on a weapon for my Bai Chi, and then actually all the Iconic 4 for cavalry, I'll probably work on my archer setup to make sure that he does have all of the all damage on the troop on the map possible, so that he actually does perform as much as he should be as a Qin Shi Huang March nowadays in 2025. Pretty decent setup. 4-2 setup with 4 pieces of Dragon Breast set as well as 2 pieces of Goddess set. So pretty decent setup for the field. I don't plan on giving this guy KvK weapon and helmet. I think it's just better to give it to infantry, which I think benefits more. Whereas if you do have 4-piece bonus for the Dragon Breast set, you'll have 3% skill damage buff, which I think, given that I already made and critted for Archer the pants and the boots for Goddess, I think this is the best case scenario for my Qin Shi Huang March at the end of the day. Now, he does have pretty decent formation. You can see that I am using an epic formation, which is kind of insane. But I have 2.5% health inscription, which is really, really nice. That means that I have almost full statted armament attributes. With on top of that, I also have 1.3% all damage, which is absolutely great for running Qin Shi Huang. And I think I have pretty decent, I have a pretty decent scroll, because this is farmable, as I've been saying. 3.5% health, 3.4% defense, 2.3% archer attack. And banner is also not too bad. 1.8% all damage is awesome. 3.3% defense is also very, very strong. And 2.9% overall, very strong banner at the end of the day. All I need is an inscription on it for special inscription, if I do have a spare one for archer at the end of the day. And for the emblem, the stats are pretty low. Honors of the Pantheon, but then again, resistance, which will give me 2.5% more damage. Self for counterattack, which is not really that great for archers in general. But for Qin Shi Huang, because he does survive a little longer on the field, I think this is not a bad choice. And also at the same time, 3.5% attack, no, health from Hardy is absolutely crazy for archers at the end of the day. I do have other inscription on different formations, but then again, I think this is right now the best that I can give to Qin Shi Huang, without actually wasting conversion stone at the end of the day. So pretty decent stats, pretty decent, just usable archer setup that I have for him. I do have him expertise on the last KvK, and I will be pairing him with double inscription. I think triple inscription Isongge, which will give him the maximum damage output, I think, at the end of the day. Now my fourth march will be Bai Chi. Bai Chi is still work in progress march. You can see that he is missing an accessory slot, which I think some of you might be flipping over given the fact that I am missing an accessory slot just because I did dismantle the epic the March speed one just to craft the KvK helmet. I didn't crit the KvK helmet, unfortunately, but it is fine. This is my work in progress. March still at the end of the day. I do usually use him with Baichi Liu Che, but given that Liu Che will be loaned to Arthur at the end of the day, I might actually use Philip behind Baichi, so that he still buffs the entire crowd of my marches on the open field, and in terms of all damage and damage taken reduction buff at the end of the day. And that also goes really, really well with the fact that I do have KvK's war drums on it. More or less, this is more of a buffing march at the end of the day. Again, uncritted KvK weapon, KvK helmet with Hope Cloak, with Iconic 2 and credit. I do have enough blueprints for me to Iconic 5 this, but then again, I'm working on other projects before I actually focus more on Baichi at the end of the day. Same goes with Eternal Light. Have enough materials, have enough blueprints, but not enough materials. And it is talented. It is iconic too, so that it is technically better than having the credit the KvK's humility. So that's what he's sitting on at this very moment at the end of the day. Now I do have two pieces of infantry, which is the glove and the shoes. Shoes is critted, gloves is not. So to give you that extra 3% troop defense, as well as 7.5% defense from the gloves, as well as 11% archer, 10% infantry defense from the boots. And as I said before, I do have Karuak's war drums, and also at the same time Gatekeeper's shield, while I'm still gathering enough materials for the Hammer of the Sun and Moon, which I do have blueprint for, but I just don't have materials. I just use a lot of the materials that I had right now for forging that KvK helmet for Baichi, and I'm still a long way away from completing this too. I am like 44 legendary materials away from crafting this, so if I crit it, that would be amazing. That would actually make me reconsider whether or not I should actually work on archer over infantry, actually, as a critted hammer. It's a big deal, guys. So yeah, but right now that's what it's sitting on. He's not running pincer at the moment just because of the fact that I don't have enough conversion stones. I have 35, which is exactly what I need for me to emergency transfer over all what I have for my Arthur to Delta if the new commander does release, and then the new commander is absolutely crazy. And once I have the special inscription on Arch through the Arch's what's this called, the pity, I have 35, which is enough. I think I need 30 for me to transfer over everything that I have on my Arthur, with the exception of the what's this called? What is this called? A scroll, because I already have scroll made for my cavalry and for my Delta setup right here, which has pretty decent, actually very close to perfect scroll armament at the end of the day for my future Delta set. So yeah, so I need 30, and I only have 35. That means I can't transfer the destructive over to pincer, so I haven't actually made that move yet. But The inscriptions themselves are actually really, really good. You can see that I have perfect defense, perfect health on this one with destructive. Destructive is a really, really big downside. But then again, when I do transfer this over to Pincer, this would be a really, really solid armament at the end of the day. And I might work on getting the attack rerolled or finding a new inscription that does have like 1.8 or 1.9% all damage. There you go, this one. So that I give all damage to my infantry march as well. I have rare inscription on this one, Horn of the North. I'm not planning on changing that anytime soon, just because I know how crazy good the special inscription on this is. So maybe this will be my next project for infantry, where I do try to get special inscription for infantry, more special inscriptions for infantry. But yeah, that's what I plan on. Good attack and defense, not so much on health, and I'm not planning to reroll that anytime soon. And he does have pretty decent all over infantry attack, defense, and health too. So yeah, he doesn't need that much of an improvement here. Same here, a very very good stat stick. What this banner is. I do have other banners, but I don't think I have anything that does have really good all damage along with infantry stats right now. So I'm just waiting for that armament before I actually start thinking about inscribing special inscription on this slot. I will probably work on Archer one first, just because of the one that I have on Archer is actually already really good, right? If you look at my Archer banner, like this one right here is absolutely crazy too. 1.8% all damage. It's just really, really good. All in all, this is only missing what, like 0.6%, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is only missing 1% of total stats, which is absolutely crazy. So yeah. So I don't think I'm gonna actually, work on this yet until I have everything else figured out for all the other marches. Now, this is a good emblem. 3.5% attack, 3.5% health. It has Guardian, which is not the best armament, but having 2% less normal damage buff is really good. Most likely, I'll just go ahead and transfer over some of the one that has like rare inscription or special inscription on this slot to Pincer when I do, and if I do, move over to Pincer. So that's basically the plan for that at the end of the day. So all in all, pretty decent setup. Not the best setup in the world. As I've been saying, I'm not infantry main. I like infantry is my third priority over cavalry number 2, which is the current project, and then archer number 1, and then infantry number 1 is my third priority at the end of the day. All in all, pretty decent setup though. And my fourth, that's my fourth march. 1 march, 2 march, 3 march, 4 march, and my 5th march is not really that great. I'll just say it up front. It's my Guan Yu, my famous blue Guan Yu that has just all blue setup with the exception of the pants. And you can see that it's funny that he's actually wearing Damage to Barbarians one, which is whatever. And he does have pretty decent wedge set. It just has 30% stats and focus fire for the extra damage. He's there usually, for most cases, he's just there to do the silence on the Guan Yu. So, and yeah, I don't have that many infantry marches either way. And I think I have the core team of 4 that does the most amount of damage that is possible at this very moment. Maybe if the new cavalry does come around the corner, I might actually make the 3rd cavalry set, which is actually probably already possible for me to have a pretty decent cavalry set if I have enough materials for it. So yeah, right now, I think the best setup is that he actually does enough silences on the field when it is possible, if it is possible. So that's what he has. That's why I have him on him. I usually even don't run him with T5 troops, just because it's just a waste of troops, in my opinion. So I just use T4. And again, his sole role on the field is for him to silence everyone, which is fine. He does his job. And yeah, that's what it is. I do have a siege march that I do use when I do unlock the 6th march. He is pretty decent. For doing his job, this is not bad. He does have pretty decent amount of stats, given thanks to my Twilight Epiphany, giving me 25% unit attack. I didn't crit this, unfortunately, so this is just sitting at Iconic 1. And view formation, I have 2 inscriptions that are actually pretty good. The first one does give me 3% troop deals 3% more damage when it's in V formation, which is nice. 9 shot also gives you 5% more range normal damage, which is great when I pair him up with Gonzalo, which is what I actually use him for. But yeah, for Guanya, I usually use him with Scipio Prime. And then for my 6 March, John, I usually use him with my Gonzalo. And yeah, so it does work. The reason why I'm using John instead of Gazamata is simple, is because he does have a rage engine, I believe. Where is his rage engine? Yeah, while this troop is in rage mode, it gains 15 rage 15% faster. This is the only reason why I'm using him. And in today's field, I think rage is so important, but for engineering march, it is way more important than regular marches, just because if you don't use that rage, it just dies out and it's killed. There's so many instances of unused rage just going to waste for siege marches, in my opinion. So having that 15% rage growth faster is just really, really good at the end of the day. And that's what I have it on. Unfortunately, I don't have enough blueprints for it to go around to my 5th March and 6th March. So those are like sitting without good and decent accessories. But eventually, I think they'll each get a horn and the ranged accessory for this guy, and for Guan Yu probably a horn and a drum or something like that along the line. At the end of the day, for those marches. So yeah, so that's what I have for you in terms of next KvK. That's what I'm expecting in the next KvK. Pretty excited. One downside of next KvK is that it will overlap with my max level newbie restart account, which means that I might have not enough time for my restart projects KvK. So that is like something that I'm kind of worried about. But then again, I will prioritize my main account's KvK over my restart project's KvK. At the end of the day, it is a restart project for a reason. But I'll try to see if I can join the fights fairly and evenly on the both sides, so that I don't disappoint either of the kingdoms that I'm currently in at the moment. So yeah, that's what I have planned for you. A pretty exciting week that we have ahead of us. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And as always, I'll see y'all in the next video. All right, peace.